I still remember the exact words she whispered that night in the supermarket. Be my boyfriend or lose your job. I froze, standing between the fruit aisle and the frozen section, holding a carton of milk like it could somehow protect me. My boss, my CEO, was gripping my hand so tightly it almost hurt. And before I could say anything, she looked up at me with that same piercing confidence she used in the boardroom, except now there was fear in her eyes. Real fear. I had no idea what was happening, only that one wrong move could destroy everything. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 28, an analyst at one of the largest consulting firms in Chicago. I'm not anyone special, just the kind of guy who works late, pays rent on time, and sometimes forgets to buy coffee filters. I got this job 2 years ago, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me until that night. Until Amanda Rose, the woman everyone called the Ice Queen, told me to pretend I was her boyfriend. You have to understand something about her. Amanda wasn't just my boss. She was the kind of woman people whispered about in elevators. Brilliant, decisive, intimidating. Men twice my age couldn't look her in the eye for more than 5 seconds. But right there, under the harsh supermarket lights, she didn't look powerful. She looked terrified. Don't look, she whispered. Just hold my hand. Smile. I did what she said. Her fingers were trembling. That's when I noticed him. A tall man pushing a cart toward us, laughing with a younger woman who clung to his arm. Amanda's ex-husband, I guessed. The man who'd left her for someone else. And in that moment, everything made sense. So, I smiled. I put my arm around her waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. Hey, sweetheart, I said quietly. Did you find the wine you like? She blinked. Surprised, then played along. Yes, she breathed out. I did. For a second, I swear she almost smiled for real. The ex-husband slowed his cart, glanced at us, and gave that smug, knowing grin people have when they think they've won. Amanda tightened her grip on my arm. I leaned closer, whispering, You okay? Keep going, she said, her voice breaking just a little. Just don't let go. So I didn't. We walked past them together, her head resting lightly on my shoulder, her perfume soft and warm like jasmine and rain. I could feel her heartbeat through my sleeve, and even though I knew this was all pretend, part of me didn't want it to end. When we finally reached the parking lot, she exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for an hour. Then she turned to me and said, You did well, Ethan. I shrugged, still trying to process everything. So you're not actually firing me? For the first time since I met her, Amanda laughed. Not the polite corporate kind, but a real human laugh. No, she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. Not tonight. The silence that followed was strange. Charged, like something invisible had shifted between us. She looked at me for a long moment, her lips parting as if to say something else, but then she caught herself. Forget tonight ever happened. She said softly, See you at work, Mr. Cole. And just like that, she walked away. Her heels clicked against the pavement until the sound faded into the night. I stood there, the smell of rain in the air, still holding the grocery bag I dropped earlier. I should have just gone home, forgotten everything, like she said. But I couldn't, because the truth was, when she held my hand, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Something that didn't belong in an office. Something real. I didn't know it yet, but that moment in the supermarket was the beginning of the most complicated, beautiful, and dangerous chapter of my life. The next morning, everything felt normal? Too normal? Amanda walked past my desk like nothing had happened. No eye contact, no secret smile, not even a hint of recognition. She wore that same composed expression, the one that made grown men in suits fidget when she entered the room. But for me, every second felt heavier. My mind replayed her words from last night, that trembling whisper, the way her hand fit perfectly into mine. I kept telling myself it meant nothing, just an act, a favor, but deep down, I already knew it wasn't that simple. Around noon, I got an email. Come to my office now. My pulse spiked. When I walked in, Amanda was standing by the window, arms crossed, her tone clipped and calm. Closed the door, Ethan. I obeyed. She didn't turn around right away. The city skyline glowed behind her, Chicago, in all its cold perfection. Finally, she spoke. You handled yourself well. Last night. Thank you. I nodded. You're welcome. Though I'm still not sure exactly what happened. She turned, eyes sharp again, but softer than usual. You helped me avoid something humiliating. Let's just say my ex doesn't need to know I'm still single. So it was all about him? I asked before I could stop myself. She arched an eyebrow. You're asking a lot of questions for someone I could fire with one email. I almost laughed, but then she smirked. Relax.
You're safe for now. She walked toward her desk, heels clicking, then looked back at me. Actually, there's something else. My gut tightened. Another supermarket emergency? Her lips curved slightly. Not exactly. The company gala is next week. Our investors want to see that I'm relatable. My PR team suggested I bring someone, a date. And after last night? I stared at her, trying to read her expression. You want me to pretend again? Yes, she said simply. It'll be one night. Dinner, photos, small talk. You'll look charming. I'll look human. Everyone wins. And if I say no? She leaned on her desk, lowering her voice. You won't. She was right. I didn't. The week that followed was a blur. Suddenly, there were fittings for suits, rehearsed smiles, shared jokes I never thought she was capable of. Somewhere between late-night emails and coffee runs, I saw glimpses of the real Amanda. Not the CEO who terrified people, but the woman who hummed quietly when she worked, who double-checked the weather before her staff left, who smiled at stray dogs outside the building. The closer we got to the gala, the harder it became to remember this was all fake. On the night of the event, she appeared at the top of the hotel stairs in a dark emerald dress that made every head turn. I'd seen her in power suits 100 times, but this was different. She looked soft, radiant, almost shy. Don't stare, she whispered as she approached. You'll make it obvious. Too late, I muttered. Her hand brushed my arm, just lightly enough to make my pulse race. Cameras flashed as we entered the ballroom. To everyone else, we were the perfect couple. Confident, composed, connected. But when the music slowed and she leaned in to whisper something, her breath warm against my ear, I realized I didn't want to stop pretending. During dinner, I caught her looking at me more than once. Not the professional glance of a boss checking in, but something deeper, uncertain, almost vulnerable. When she raised her glass for a toast, her hand brushed mine under the table. Neither of us moved away. Later that night, as the crowd thinned, I walked her to her car. The air was cool, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. You did great tonight, she said softly. So did you. She hesitated, then stepped closer. Remember what I told you before about not getting attached? Yeah, I said. Forget it, she whispered, almost smiling. For tonight, anyway. And then, just before she got into her car, she kissed me. Quick, unexpected, real. By the time I opened my eyes, she was gone, leaving me standing in the soft glow of the streetlights, completely sure of one thing. This was no longer just a game. The night after the gala, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Amanda's face, lit by the glow of city lights just before she kissed me. It wasn't long or passionate, but it was real. Too real. And the worst part, I wanted more. The next morning, I expected her to act cold again, like she always did after crossing a line. But when I entered the office, she wasn't there. Her assistant told me she was working remotely. Everyone else moved on with their day, but I couldn't focus. My inbox was full, my coffee cold, my thoughts spinning. Around noon, a message popped up. Dinner tonight, 8 p.m., same hotel, don't be late. My heart skipped. When I arrived that night, she was already seated at a corner table, looking nothing like the woman I worked for. No suit, no armor, just Amanda, wearing a black dress, her hair loose, her expression unreadable. "You came," she said softly. "You told me to," I replied. She smiled, a trace of amusement flickering across her lips. I suppose I did. Dinner was quiet at first. We talked about work, the weather, anything safe. But the tension lingered beneath every word. Then she said something that caught me off guard. "Do you ever feel," she asked, "like you built a life so strong it turned into a cage?" I looked at her, surprised. "All the time," I said. She met my gaze. "I used to think control meant safety. Now I'm not so sure." For a moment she seemed fragile, like she was standing at the edge of something she couldn't name. I wanted to tell her I understood, that I'd spent years playing it safe too, afraid to want more. After dinner, she asked if I wanted a drink upstairs, just to talk. I hesitated but followed. Her suite overlooked the city, rain streaking the windows. She poured 2 glasses of wine, then sat across from me. "About last night," she said. "That kiss," I interrupted gently. "You don't need to explain." "But I do," she whispered. "It wasn't part of the act." My breath caught. "Then what was it?" She looked at me for a long time before saying, "A mistake I don't regret." The room felt smaller suddenly, the air heavier. She moved closer, the scent of her perfume surrounding me again. "This can't happen," she said. "You work for me. There are rules." "Then why are you standing this close?" I asked quietly. She smiled sadly. "Because I'm tired of pretending." Her hand brushed my cheek, slow, trembling, unsure. I didn't move away. The touch was brief, but it left me shaken. The next few days at work were strange. No one knew what was happening between us, but something had changed. Her tone softer during meetings. Once, when I handed her a report, our fingers brushed and she froze for a heartbeat before pulling away. Every interaction felt like a secret, and secrets never stay hidden for long. One evening as we left the office, a flash went off outside, someone taking photos. She tensed instantly. Across the street, I saw a familiar smirk. Mark, my coworker, the one who'd always envied me. He gave me a mocking little wave before disappearing into the crowd. "He saw us," I muttered. Amanda's jaw tightened. "Then we have a problem." The next morning, whispers spread through the office. People glanced at us, exchanged looks. I tried to ignore it, but the tension was suffocating. Amanda called me into her office. She stood by the window, arms crossed. "This was a mistake," she said. "It's already out of control." "We didn't do anything wrong," I argued. "That doesn't matter," she said sharply. "Perception does. They'll use it against us." "Against you, you mean," I said quietly. She didn't deny it. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then she turned toward me, eyes shining with something like pain. "I can't protect you from this," she said. "So you're ending it?" I asked. "Before it even begins." Her voice cracked. "It's better that way." I wanted to fight her on it, to tell her I didn't care what anyone thought. But when I saw the fear in her eyes, the same fear I'd seen in that supermarket, I stopped. She was protecting herself, not from me, but from the world that would never forgive her for being human. As I left her office, she whispered so softly I almost missed it. "Don't hate me for this." I turned back. "Too late," I said quietly. "I think I love you instead." She didn't answer. She just looked away, tears glinting in her eyes as the door closed between us. The rumor spread faster than I thought possible. By Monday morning, it felt like the entire building had seen those photos. Me and Amanda walking side by side, too close, too comfortable. No caption, no context, just enough to destroy reputations. I could feel the shift the moment I stepped into the office. Conversation stopped when I walked past. Mark smirked from his cubicle like he'd just won something. And when Amanda arrived, she didn't even glance at me. By noon, I got an email from HR. Urgent meeting, 2 p.m. My stomach sunk. When I walked in, Amanda was already there, sitting at the head of the table, her face unreadable. The HR director spoke in that slow, careful tone corporate people use when they're about to ruin someone's life. "Ethan, given recent events, the company has decided to place you on leave pending review." My throat went dry. "So that's it? I'm the problem now?" Amanda didn't say a word. She kept her eyes on the papers in front of her, not once looking up. When the meeting ended, I waited until the room cleared. "You could have said something," I told her quietly. She finally looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something break inside her. "Do you think this is easy for me?" she whispered. "They were going to go after you no matter what. I had to make a choice. And you chose your career," I said. "No," she breathed, eyes glistening. "I chose to keep you out of the fire. You just don't see it yet." That night, I packed my things and left the building I'd worked in for years. The city felt different, colder, emptier. I stopped by my father's place on the way home. He'd been sick for months, but he smiled when he saw me. "You look tired, son," he said. I laughed softly. "You have no idea." We sat together in silence, the kind that says more than words. And for the first time in a long while, I let myself stop pretending I was okay. Days turned into weeks. No calls from Amanda, no messages. I tried to distract myself with odd jobs, freelance work, anything. But no matter what I did, she was there, in every quiet moment, every song on the radio, every corner of the city where we'd once walked together. One afternoon, I stopped by the cafe near the office to see Laya, the barista who'd been my friend long before any of this started. "You look like someone who's been hit by a train," she said with a smirk. "Corporate train," I muttered. She handed me my coffee and leaned closer. "You know, she fought for you, right?" I frowned. "Amanda, what are you talking about? Word is the board wanted to fire you permanently. She refused, went toe-to-toe with the chairman, said she'd resign before letting them bury your career." The cup nearly slipped from my hand. "She did that?" "She did more," Lyda said. "She walked out of that building yesterday, gave up her position." I just stood there, trying to breathe. The woman who'd built her life around control and power had just given it all up for me. That night I couldn't sit still. I walked the streets until the city blurred into lights and rain. Every step replayed our moments together. The fake smiles, the real laughter, the way her voice softened when she forgot to be strong. I realized something. She hadn't abandoned me. She'd protected me, even if it meant destroying herself. I decided to find her. I called her office, but her assistant said she'd already cleared out. No forwarding address, no contact number, just gone. The next morning I went back to the supermarket, the same one where it all began. It was almost empty, quiet, except for the hum of freezers and soft music overhead. I don't know why I was there. Maybe because part of me believed that if fate existed, it owed us one more moment. I stood there for a while, staring at the aisle where she first held my hand and said those impossible words, "Be my boyfriend or lose your job." And as strange as it sounds, I missed even that version of her. The woman who hid her pain behind orders and confidence. I walked out into the rain, soaked and shivering.
But for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to hope. Because somewhere out there, Amanda Rose wasn't the CEO anymore. She was just a woman. And maybe, just maybe, I'd get the chance to tell her what I never could back then, that I would have chosen her over everything, every time. It had been 4 months since I last saw Amanda Rose. 4 months since the company scandal, since the rumors, since the night she vanished without a trace. I tried to move on. New job, new schedule, new everything. But every quiet moment brought her back. Her voice, her laugh, that look she gave me when she wanted to say something but didn't. Some nights, I still woke up thinking I heard her whisper my name. Life had slowed down since then. I was working at a small tech startup. Nothing fancy, just a handful of good people trying to build something real. I liked it there. It reminded me who I was before ambition and heartbreak became part of my daily routine. But even as I found my rhythm again, something felt unfinished. Love doesn't just disappear because it's inconvenient. That night, the city was quiet, draped in the kind of spring rain that blurs lights and memories alike. I stopped by the supermarket on my way home, the same one where everything had started. I just needed milk, maybe closure, maybe both. I walked down the aisles like a ghost, retracing old steps. That's when I saw her. She was standing in the wine section, holding the same bottle she'd held that first night. Same calm posture, same soft focus, as if the world around her didn't exist. Amanda turned slowly, almost sensing me before she saw me. For a moment, we both froze. Then she smiled. Small, hesitant, real. "Took you long enough," she said. I didn't know whether to laugh or to breathe. "You left without saying goodbye." "I didn't know how," she admitted. Everything I touched back then turned into a headline. I thought disappearing was the only way to protect what was left of us. "There was something left of us?" I asked quietly. She stepped closer, eyes searching mine. "There still is."
The rain tapped softly against the windows as the rest of the world faded. She looked different, simpler somehow. No designer suit, no power heels, just jeans, a cream sweater, and that same grace she couldn't hide if she tried. "What happened after you left?" I asked. "I took time," she said. "Traveled, thought, tried to remember who I was before I became someone people feared." She smiled sadly. "Turns out I missed being human." For a while, neither of us spoke. I just watched her, memorizing every small thing I'd forgotten. The way she tilted her head when she listened, the faint dimple that appeared when she smiled. Then she whispered, "Now it's your turn." "My turn?" She nodded. "To tell me what you've been holding back." I took a breath. "I hated you," I said honestly, "for choosing your career over me, for not fighting harder. But then I realized you did fight. You just did it your way. And I hated myself for not seeing it sooner." I paused. "The truth is, Amanda, I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day." Her eyes glistened, but she smiled through it. "You always were too honest." "I learned from the best," I said. She laughed softly, then reached out and took my hand, the same way she had that first night. Except this time, it wasn't out of fear. "No more pretending," she whispered. "Never again," I promised. We stood there in the middle of the supermarket aisle, two people who had lost everything except each other. She leaned in, resting her forehead against mine. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic. It was quiet, human, perfect. When our lips met, it felt like exhaling after years of holding our breath. Afterward, we walked out together. No secrets left to hide behind. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean. She slipped her arm through mine as we crossed the parking lot. "So what now?" I asked. Amanda smiled. "Now we start over. No titles, no rules, just us." As we reached her car, she turned to me one last time. "Funny," she said. "The first time I saw you here, I told you to pretend." "And now," I smiled, "now we don't have to." She laughed quietly, that same warm sound I'd rehearsed for months. And as we drove away together, I realized something. Sometimes the universe breaks you just enough to make space for what's real. What began as a lie ended as the only truth that ever mattered. I didn't lose my job that night in the supermarket. I found my heart.